For 3 decades, the world has viewed the rise of China as an immutable law of nature. We saw a nation that transformed from an agrarian backwater into the world's workshop, then its largest navy, and now, a leader in the technologies of the future. But as we move deeper into 2026, the narrative is shifting. The phrase "Zhilahu," the paper tiger, is making a comeback. Is China truly the unstoppable superpower it projects itself to be? Or is it a giant facing a structural ceiling that it simply cannot break through? To answer that, we have to look past the steel and the headlines, and into the data that defines the dual dilemma facing the Indo-Pacific today. For years, China's growth was built on a foundation of concrete, but that foundation is crumbling. In 2026, the property sector remains in a state of terminal stagnation. New home starts are down nearly 80% from their 2021 peak, creating a massive $2 trillion hole in the national balance sheet. However, the paper tiger argument often misses what is replacing the old engine. Beijing has pivoted with ruthless efficiency. In 2025, roughly 1/3 of China's entire GDP growth was driven by the new three: electric vehicles, batteries, and solar technology. These sectors now account for over 11% of the total economy. Without this high-tech surge, China's growth would have stalled at 3.5%, a lost decade territory. This creates a paradox. While the domestic consumer is reeling from a property-led wealth wipeout, China's industrial ecosystem has never been more dominant. It is a nation that is simultaneously slowing down and gearing up for a technological monopoly. If the economy is the engine, people are the fuel. And China is running out of fuel faster than any nation in modern history. In 2025, births fell below 8 million for the first time. The fertility rate is now roughly 5.6 per 1,000 people, a level that points to a shrinking, aging society that may get old before it gets rich. In 2026, a record 12.7 million university graduates are entering the workforce, but they are finding a job market that doesn't want them. This has led to a mismatch crisis, a highly educated youth population with dwindling wages and limited upward mobility. For a tiger to roar, it needs a young, hungry population. Instead, China is entering its twilight years. If China is weakening internally, why is it acting more aggressively than ever? The 2026 defense budget has hit 1.94 trillion yuan, roughly $281 billion. While the growth is in the single digits, the sophistication of the force is what matters. The focus has shifted to intelligentization, integrating AI and autonomous systems into every layer of the PLA. We see this in the gray zone. In the South China Sea, an average of 241 maritime militia vessels are deployed daily, maintaining a constant, suffocating presence. Perhaps most sophisticated is the use of cognitive warfare. In the Taiwan Strait, the PLA has begun deploying long-endurance drones that spoof civilian aircraft transponders. By masking military assets as commercial flights, they create a fog of peace that forces neighbors to remain in a constant, exhausting state of high alert. The goal isn't necessarily a hot war. It's to win without fighting by changing the facts on the ground until resistance feels futile. This leads to what we call the dual dilemma. For nations like Japan, Australia, and the Philippines, China is a simultaneous threat and a necessity. This is the bounded alignment model. While security concerns push these nations toward the West, economic gravity pulls them toward Beijing. Consider the math. A 1% shock to Chinese demand results in a direct 0.1% drop in Japan's total GDP. While that sounds small, it represents billions of dollars and thousands of jobs. This economic tether bounds how much these nations can realistically align against China. They cannot simply decouple without inviting a domestic political crisis. The tiger may be made of paper in some areas, but its economic weight is very real, and it is using that weight to ensure that no regional coalition can ever truly be all in against it. So, is the tiger made of paper? If we define strength as 10% GDP growth and a booming population, then yes, that China is gone. But a peaking power can be more dangerous than a rising one. China is currently a constrained superpower. It has a world-leading industrial base and a military that has mastered the art of the grey zone. But it is also a nation fighting against time and its own demographics. The danger of the paper tiger narrative is that it assumes a weakening China is a safer China. In reality, as the window of opportunity closes for Beijing, the risk of a miscalculation grows. The tiger might be aging, but it is more armed, more integrated, and more unpredictable than ever before.